Section 210.52e of the National Electrical Code addresses outdoor receptacles. The code does not explicitly mandate outdoor receptacles for elevated houses, such as those constructed on stilts. However, there are several aspects to consider. Firstly, the scope of the National Electrical Code encompasses all premises, including buildings and structures. Secondly, it is important to define what constitutes a building. The National Electrical Code defines a building as a structure that possesses a roof supporting a fixed ceiling, and it includes occupied spaces within that structure. Thirdly, elevated porches and balconies are generally regarded as occupied spaces. Considering these factors, it can be argued that the National Electrical Code does, in fact, require outdoor receptacles on elevated porches and balconies, regardless of whether the houses themselves are at grade level. This is because these spaces are classified as occupied spaces within a building. To ensure adherence to the National Electrical Code and to offer a secure and practical way for residents to connect outdoor appliances and devices, it is recommended to install outdoor receptacles on all elevated porches and balconies. This approach aligns with the intent of the code to promote electrical safety and convenience in all occupied spaces. The interpretation of the National Electrical Code can sometimes be subjective, and local jurisdictions may have their own interpretations or amendments to the code. It is always best to consult with the local electrical inspector or authority having jurisdiction to ensure compliance with all applicable codes and regulations. This will help avoid any potential issues or violations during inspections and ensure that the electrical installations meet the required safety standards. While the National Electrical Code provides a comprehensive set of guidelines for electrical installations, it is not always explicit in every situation. In cases where the code is not clear or specific, it is important to rely on sound engineering judgment and industry best practices. This may involve considering factors such as the intended use of the space, the potential for exposure to the elements, and the overall safety of the electrical installation. In addition to the National Electrical Code requirements, there may be other relevant standards or regulations that apply to electrical installations in elevated houses and balconies. These may include local building codes, accessibility standards, or energy efficiency requirements. It is important to be aware of and comply with all applicable regulations to ensure that the electrical installation is safe, functional, and meets the needs of the occupants. When installing outdoor receptacles, it is important to select receptacles that are specifically designed for outdoor use. These receptacles are typically weather-resistant and have features such as covers or enclosures to protect them from moisture, dirt, and other environmental factors. Using the appropriate type of receptacle can help prevent electrical hazards and ensure the longevity of the installation. In addition to weather resistance, outdoor receptacles should also be ground fault circuit interrupter protected. Ground fault circuit interrupter protection is designed to detect ground faults, which can occur when electricity flows through an unintended path to ground. Ground fault circuit interrupter protection can quickly interrupt the flow of electricity, preventing electrical shock and other hazards. Ground fault circuit interrupter protection is particularly important in outdoor locations where there is a greater risk of exposure to moisture and other conductive materials. When installing outdoor receptacles on elevated porches and balconies, it is important to consider the location of the receptacles. The receptacles should be located in a convenient and accessible location, but they should also be protected from physical damage and exposure to the elements. The receptacles should also be located in a way that minimizes the risk of tripping hazards or other safety issues. In addition to the location of the receptacles, it is also important to consider the wiring methods used to supply power to the receptacles. The wiring should be installed in accordance with the National Electrical Code and all other applicable regulations. The wiring should be protected from physical damage and exposure to the elements. The wiring should also be sized appropriately to handle the anticipated load. When installing electrical equipment in elevated houses and balconies, it is important to consider the effects of wind and other environmental factors. Elevated structures are more susceptible to wind damage than structures at ground level. It is important to ensure that all electrical equipment is securely mounted and protected from wind and other environmental hazards. In addition to wind, It is also important to consider the effects of moisture, temperature, and sunlight. These factors can degrade electrical equipment over time, leading to potential hazards. It is important to select equipment that is designed to withstand these environmental factors and to maintain the equipment properly to ensure its longevity. When working with electricity, it is important to always follow safe work practices. This includes wearing appropriate personal protective equipment, such as gloves and eye protection. It also includes de-energizing circuits before working on them and using appropriate test equipment to verify that circuits are de-energized. Working with electricity can be dangerous, and it is important to take all necessary precautions to protect yourself and others. In addition to safe work practices, it is also important to have a thorough understanding of the National Electrical Code and other applicable regulations. The National Electrical Code is a complex document, and it is important to stay up to date on the latest changes and revisions. There are many resources available to help you learn about the National Electrical Code, including training courses, seminars, and online resources. By continuing your education and staying informed about the latest developments in the electrical industry, you can ensure that you are providing safe and compliant electrical installations. The question of whether outdoor receptacles are required on elevated houses and balconies is a complex one that depends on a variety of factors. While the National Electrical Code does not explicitly require these receptacles, it can be argued that they are required based on a definition of a building and occupied spaces. Ultimately, the decision of whether or not to install outdoor receptacles is up to the local electrical inspector or authority having jurisdiction. However, it is recommended to install these receptacles to ensure compliance with the National Electrical Code and to provide a safe and convenient means for residents to connect outdoor appliances and devices. In addition to the specific requirements for outdoor receptacles, there are also general requirements for all electrical installations in buildings and structures. These requirements cover a wide range of topics, including wiring methods, overcurrent protection, grounding, and bonding. It is important to be familiar with these general requirements to ensure that all electrical installations are safe and compliant. One important aspect of electrical safety is grounding and bonding. Grounding is the process of connecting electrical equipment to the earth, which provides a path for fault current to flow back to the source. Bonding is the process of connecting different metal parts of an electrical system together, which helps to equalize the voltage potential between them. Proper grounding and bonding are essential for preventing electrical shock and other hazards. Another important aspect of electrical safety is overcurrent protection. Overcurrent protection devices, such as circuit breakers and fuses, are designed to interrupt the flow of electricity when the current exceeds a certain level. This helps to protect electrical equipment from damage and prevent fires. It is important to select overcurrent protection devices that are properly sized for the circuits they are protecting. In addition to the technical aspects of electrical installations, it is also important to consider the aesthetic aspect. Electrical equipment should be installed in a way that is visually appealing and does not detract from the overall appearance of the building or structure. This may involve concealing wiring, using decorative fixtures, or coordinating the color of electrical equipment with the surrounding environment. When planning an electrical installation, it is important to consider the future needs of the building or structure. This may involve providing extra capacity for future expansion, installing conduit for future wiring, or selecting equipment that can be easily upgraded or replaced. By planning for the future, you can avoid costly and disruptive changes later on. Electrical installations are a critical part of any building or structure. It is important to ensure that these installations are safe, compliant, and functional. By following the National Electrical Code and other applicable regulations, using safe work practices, and planning for the future, you can create electrical installations that meet the needs of the occupants and protect the safety of the building or structure. The interpretation and application of electrical codes can vary depending on the specific location and the authority having jurisdiction. It is essential to consult with local electrical inspectors or qualified professionals to ensure compliance with all applicable regulations. They can provide guidance on specific requirements, interpretations, and any local amendments to the National Electrical Code. Furthermore, electrical codes and standards are constantly evolving to incorporate new technologies, address emerging safety concerns, and improve energy efficiency. Staying up to date with the latest revisions and updates is crucial for electrical professionals and anyone involved in electrical installations. This can be achieved through continuing education courses, industry publications, and participation in professional organizations. In addition to adhering to code requirements, it is also important to consider best practices and industry standards when designing and installing electrical systems. These practices often go beyond the minimum requirements of the code and aim to enhance safety, reliability, and performance. Examples include using high-quality materials, implementing redundant systems, and conducting thorough testing and commissioning. Proper documentation is also essential for electrical installations. This includes maintaining accurate records of wiring diagrams, equipment specifications, and inspection reports. This documentation can be invaluable for troubleshooting, maintenance, and future modifications to the electrical system. Electrical safety is a shared responsibility that involves not only electrical professionals but also building owners, occupants, and the general public. It is important to educate individuals about electrical hazards, safe practices, and the proper use of electrical equipment. This can help prevent accidents, injuries, and property damage. Electrical installations play a vital role in our modern society, providing power for lighting, heating, cooling, appliances, and countless other devices. By ensuring that these installations are safe, reliable, and efficient, we can contribute to a better quality of life for everyone. Remember to always prioritize safety when working with electricity. If you are not qualified or experienced, it is best to hire a licensed electrical contractor to perform the work. Electricity can be dangerous, and it is not worth risking your safety or the safety of others.